ओम भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनच्छलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः तदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुवैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते राधानाथ ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषण्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशारिणे वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरं हरि ओम। Hare Krishna. So I appreciate all of you who have managed to stay together on this journey. We have covered 8 cantos of the Srimad Bhagavat. Hari Bol. A wonderful congratulations to all of you. We are entering the 9th canto. So like what I mentioned in my last class, 8 cantos is 8 out of 12, which is 2/3. To be able to listen to the nectarian pastimes of the Srimad Bhagavat even at a summary level, because even though we are discussing at a summary level, we are pretty much covering all the key points. We're not going through all the details of the purports, but the message of the Bhagavatam, all the key points we are covering. It's a great blessing for a living entity, any living entity, what to speak of a devotee. He has managed to study the Bhagavat or even hear the Bhagavat. Study is probably the next step. For me, because I have to give class, I have to study. Some of you are studying also, I know. Some of you are listening and then studying along. That is very wonderful. Like Amit Prabhu and Riya Mataji are doing that. So that's very wonderful. So those who are doing that, very, very nice. To have studied the Srimad Bhagavat is something wonderful for any living being. And it is so absolutely essential for those who want to progress on the path of pure devotion. The main nourisher to the heart in terms of literatures for those who are aspiring for pure devotion is Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's very, very important. So firstly, thank you for those who have been, of course, different devotees have joined at different parts on this journey, but I believe most of you have been there more or less from the beginning of the Bhagavatam series. So my heartiest congratulations and my request to continue to remain on this train till we get to the concluding station. Of course, Harikatha never concludes. When we conclude this, we'll figure out more things to discuss. So anyway, so today we are going to be entering into the 9th canto. So before I get into the chapter proper, just a quick preview as to what we should expect in the 9th canto. So we all know that the Bhagavatam has 12 cantos and there are 10 topics which the Bhagavatam deals with. Correct? So what are the 10 topics? And we have discussed this multiple times. Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, Poshanam, Uti, Manvantara, Ishanukatha, Nirodha, Mukti and Ashraya. 10 topics. And while all these 10 topics are generally spread across the 12 cantos, some cantos are more heavily focused on certain topics. Now, I'm not going to go through that mapping. We have briefly discussed that earlier. The 8th canto, which we just concluded, was predominantly focused on which topic? Anyone remembers? Out of the 10 topics? Anyone? Out of the 10 topics?
Annihilation.
Manvantara.
On the topic of Manvantaras, correct? Because the different Manus and in their reign, which were the Manvantara avatars have been discussed. And this particular canto ends with the discussion of the first 6 cantos, 6 Manvantaras and their various incarnations. And the canto ends with the beautiful pastime of the Matsya Avatara, wherein for the Matsya Avatara pastime, it is mentioned who was the king. Anyone remembers the name of the king with whom the Lord performed?
Satyavrata.
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 So who did he become in his next life? Anyone remembers? We concluded the
Vaivasvata Manu. Vaivasvata Manu.
Yes. So this pastime of Matsyavatar happened at the end of the previous Manvantara and it led to the beginning of the current Manvantara. We also discussed this in the last class, how that was actually an unusual dissolution. Typically, this kind of dissolution doesn't happen between Manvantaras. It happens during the end of the day of Brahma, during the night that this kind of annihilation happens. But to show special mercies to Satyavrata king and also to instruct him in the knowledge of the Vedas along with the Saptarshis, this very special pastime was performed by Lord Hari by taking the form of a fish, huge fish. Correct? Millions of yojanas. And this pastime is even though it is from the Vedic scriptures, practically every other culture and religion in the world refers to this pastime with its own flavor and version. In the Christian tradition, this is referred to as Noah's Ark. That the Lord sent a huge ship and asked him to gather all the species. Same pastime to tide the floods of destruction. So there are some variations, but essentially the story is the same. There was a huge flood and there was a great saintly king or leader who was asked by the Lord to board that boat and collect all the species of life and remain on that boat and again then continue the next cycle. That's how we see the influence of the Vedic tradition across different cultures. So the story of that massive flood, and the story is not that ancient. I mean, it is ancient in one sense, but it is still at the beginning of this Manvantara, at the end of the previous one. So in that sense, within this day of Brahma, it's not that far. So, within each Manvantara, there are 71 Yuga cycles. Correct? 14 Manvantaras in a day of Brahma. Each one is roughly 71 cycles of Satya, Treta, Dwapar, and Kali. And we are in the 7th Manvantara, 28th Chaturyuga. And the last Kali Yuga, which is at the end of the 28th Chaturyuga. So, of course, it is still some time ago that this happened, because we are in the 28th Chaturyuga of this Manvantara, out of 71. Roughly 1/3 through the Manvantara. But nonetheless, it is still a fair number of eons ago. But nonetheless, from a universal time perspective, it is still much more recent. And that's why the traces of these pastimes are not only found, of course, the Vedas are recorded by the great sages, but are found in every tradition passed through generations. That there was a huge flood at one time, and there was this king who was shown special mercy by the Lord, and he had that huge boat which he was asked to arrange, on which he brought all the species of life, and that's how, after the flood receded, life continued on earth. So at the end of that canto, the question was asked about 6 Manvantaras are over, about who's the next Manu, or rather, who's the current Manu. So the mention is given at the end of the 8th canto that this Maharaj Satyavrata, this King Satyavrata, who received the favor of Lord Matsya, is the same person who in his next life will become Vaivasvata Manu. Vaivasvat means the son of Vivasvan. That's why Vaivasvata. Just like Pandu's son is Pandavas. Descendants of Kuru are Kauravas. Vivasvan's son is Vaivasvata. But actually his name, his given name was Shraddha Deva. His name was Shraddha Deva, his wife's name is Shraddha. But we'll come to that story a little later. And the 9th canto is especially focused on the descendants of Vaivasvata Manu across the Surya Vamsha and across the Chandra Vamsha, especially various kings and great personalities, and some incarnations also. So while the 8th canto is predominantly Manvantara, one sense this canto is also focused on Manvantara, it's only talking about Vaivasvat Manvantara, but more importantly, the main topic in the 9th canto is Ishanu Katha. Ishanu Katha. What does Ishanu Katha means? Ishanu Katha means topics related to the Lord and his devotees. Isha, Anu, Katha. Isha is the Lord, and Isha, Anu means his followers, the devotees. And this Ishanu Katha is especially focused on the great kings and incarnations who are descendants of Vaivasvata Manu, because we are talking of the present Manvantara. The current Manvantara, which we are situated. So the 10 cantos of the Bhagavatam, another point to note, since we are giving you an overview of the 9th canto, that the various cantos of the Srimad Bhagavat are compared to various parts of the body of the Supreme Lord, the transcendental body of the Supreme Lord. The 9th canto is compared to the neck of the Supreme Lord. And the pastimes of Ishanu Katha. Why are the pastimes of Ishanu Katha being narrated in this canto? The pastimes are narrated so that it's not just about spiritual entertainment, but through the lives of these great souls, through the lives of great devotees, especially perfected souls, and from the examples of the pastimes of the Lord, one understands the topmost examples of spiritual character and spiritual qualities. So there are positive things to learn. One can learn about bhakti, vijnana, vairagya. Vijnana means transcendental knowledge, realized knowledge. Vairagya. Through the examples of the great personalities, we learn through their character, through their lives, how these qualities of knowledge, renunciation, devotion play out in terms of how they respond to various situations, how they lived their life. That is very important. We may hear about qualities of renunciation, devotion, and knowledge, but what does having that quality mean in terms of how a person lives his life out? Arjuna was also curious about this, right? In the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. At the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, because the Lord so much summarized the whole philosophy of Vedanta within the second chapter. Arjuna was curious and he asked, "Oh Lord, can you explain to me this perfected soul with perfected consciousness, perfectly stable consciousness, Sthita Prajna? You tell me, I mean, I understand the description of the quality, but what does it mean in practical life? How does he live? Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshavah sthita dhi kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim." How does he sit? How does he get up? How does he eat? How does he do his recreation? So you want to know. Because then we can map it to, okay. Developing this quality means behaving like this. Because behavior is something we can relate to. Quality is abstract, right? How is quality, how is character perceived? Character and values are perceived based on behavior and culture. And that is why living examples of great souls is so essential for sadhakas, so that we actually understand what it means to be a devotee. And that's the whole purpose Lord Chaitanya appeared. To be the topmost example, the topmost role model of perfect your devotional service. So bhakti, vijnana, vairagya. Especially through the lives of the great kings in the Surya Vamsha and the Chandra Vamsha. There are great kings in both the Vamsha. In fact, there are certain points where both Vamshas come together and crisscross. We will discuss those as we progress through the ninth canto. Numerous kings are mentioned. Few incarnations are also mentioned. Incarnations like Sri Ramachandra Bhagwan is discussed in this canto. Incarnations like Parshuramji are discussed in this canto. Amongst the kings of the Surya Vamsha, the key personalities discussed, apart from Vaivasvata Manu, I'm just taking a few names, there are huge names. Chavan Muni, Sukanya, Ambarish Maharaj, and Durvasa pastime. King Mandhata, Saubhari Muni, King Harishchandra, the famous one, King Sagar and Anshuman and their story, King Bhagiratha and the story of the Ganges, Khatwanga Muni, Nimi, Maharaj Nimi and Maharaj Janaka. These are all great examples of great personalities in the Surya Vamsha. And within the Chandra Vamsha, beginning with Soma, Soma is the moon god himself, Pururava, Urvashi, how they emerged. Great kings like Gadhi, Kartavirya Arjuna, Lord Parshuram's pastimes. The story of King Yayati, married, Devayani. Great kings like Dushyanta, Bharata, Bharadwaja, Rantideva. Stories of Kauravas and Pandavas and their relationship with Krishna. All these topics in brief, because these are all the pastimes of these great personalities are covered in so many itihasas and Puranas. But there are brief references here in the context of the question that is asked by Maharaj Parikshit to Shukadeva Goswami. Tell me about the descendants of Vaivasvata, Manvantara. So not only are there positive lessons in this Ishanu Katha about the great examples of devotion, spiritual realization, Vijnana, and renunciation, but there are also many lessons through the lives of these great persons. Great, or you can even say some of them were great in the sense that they were greatly powerful kings, powerful rulers, powerful personalities holding prominent positions. Also, so many examples through these stories of the dangers in this world, while we are in this world, of lust, anger, greed, pride, and envy. The Shad-ripus, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsara. How conditioned living entities, even if they are big, big kings, even if they are big devatas, as long as one is not a liberated soul, one struggles with Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsara. So the dangers of Maya, Bhagavatam, through these pages of the 9th Canto Ishanu Katha, through the lives of these great kings, is trying to tell us they are struggling and suffering, and look at what all they had to go through because of not being able to control these. So you better be careful. Don't fall prey to Maya. Be careful of these enemies. Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhava mahashano mahapapma vidyena mehaverina. Krishna warns the Bhagavad Gita. The main enemies is lust and anger. Lust, anger, greed. These are the three gateways to hell. So you will see this in conditions. Even Devatas, Indra, many times he becomes envious, so many times he becomes proud. Isn't it? So this is not mentioned here so that we say, yeah, Indra, you are bad. I am good. Sometimes as neophyte devotees, we oftentimes overrate ourselves. We think we are very great. Because we are always so outward looking that we fail to realize actually our own hearts are so afflicted with Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsara. We are so focused on finding other spots. But these stories are meant to trigger this thinking in us that, if Indra is having this problem, even after becoming a Devata and being dear to the Lord, he's the brother. He's the elder brother of Vamandev. Brihaspati is his guru. His father and mother are Kashyap and Aditi. But he's still struggling. So how much more careful? I am born in Kali Yuga. I am staying in Kuala Lumpur. I am staying in Mumbai. I am staying wherever. Amid so much nonsense. Continuously surrounded by materialistic people. So how much more I must be careful? So by meditating and reflecting on these episodes of these great personalities, one becomes adequately cautioned. Be careful, huh? You're a sadhaka, be careful. Be careful of the power of Maya. Prabhupada would often tell his disciples, he told one thing very interesting. Once Prabhupada said, you know what is the problem with my disciples? You know what is the problem with my disciples? He said, the problem with my disciples is that they are not adequately fearful of Maya. So sometimes as sadhakas, we underestimate the power of Maya. We think, oh, I am chanting. I have accepted Guru. What Maya can do to me now? Oh, Maya is very smart. Maya knows how to infiltrate. even a devotional mind and plant something there to make it appear spiritual, but it will be nothing but a manifestation of envy, lust, greed, anger. It will perfume it with spiritual reasoning and cause the deviation or destruction of the sadhaka. So by understanding these tricks of Maya, by understanding the power of illusion, what is the expected effect? It's not that just by understanding Maya's influence, oh, now I know the tricks of Maya, so now, of course, that's a good starting point, but one cannot overcome Maya simply by theoretically understanding her tricks. Correct? Everyone in this world knows Maya for a man comes in the form of a woman, beautiful woman, and tricks him. Even though everyone knows, all those who have been tricked, did they not know? Did they not know? Everyone knew. So that is the power. When Maya entraps, when it does its prakshepatmaka shakti. Maya has two kinds of energies. Avaranatmika and prakshepatmika. Avaranatmika means covering. Covers our intelligence. Another is prakshepatmika. Prakshepatmika means it projects itself by attracting the jiva's mind and senses in a particular direction. And it usually works in both ways. It covers the knowledge and it attracts. So when that prakshepatmika shakti comes, all the so-called intelligence and all, oftentimes it doesn't work. So what one should do? What should a sadhaka do? Of course, knowledge is still important because it at least provides an entry-level qualification to deal with Maya, at least to know what is Maya, what I should be careful of. But that is not adequate. That may be a good starting point. What is needed? Mama Maya Duratyaya. Krishna tells Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. Trigunamayi Esha Mama Maya Duratyaya. Arjuna, this divine energy of mine, Mama Maya, composed of the three modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome. Can you imagine? Krishna is saying very difficult to overcome. But Krishna immediately gives the solution. Mama eva ye prapadyante maya metam taranti. Knowledge, philosophical inquiry, detachment, all these are good to deal with small scale Maya. But when Maya comes full force, an individual jiva who is still conditioned doesn't have the potency to withstand power of Maya. What one has to do? Mama eva ye prapadyante. Those who take shelter of me. Maya metam taranti. They can overcome. So this kind of examples, which are mentioned in the 9th canto, are not just meant to educate us. Yes, that is one part of it, in terms of how dangerous Maya can be and how one must understand these are all the various tricks. Yes, that's one part of it. But more importantly, to encourage the jiva, the sadhaka, the sincere sadhaka, please wholeheartedly take shelter of Krishna. Bhajahu re mana Sri Nandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. If you want to be fearlessly situated, fearless here in this context means always protected from Maya. Because what is the real fear for the sadhaka? The real fear is not that he will lose a job, he will lose a court case, he'll lose some money, lose his health. All this may happen, and those are inconvenient, troublesome things. But the real fear for the sadhaka is being deviated from Krishna consciousness, being forgetful of the Lord. Bhajahu re mana Srinandanandana Abhaya Charana. One is focused and takes firm shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, then one is in a fearless situation, no matter what happens. Prahlad was in that consciousness, no? Krishna wants me to die, I'm okay. Krishna wants to protect me also, I'm okay. Let him decide, I'm taking shelter. Of course, in that particular situation, the The Lord decided to protect him, give that example to us. But in certain cases, the Lord may also decide that this particular jiva, it is good for him in this situation to give up his body because I have some other plan for him. That has also happened. Great devotees have passed on also in difficult situations. Abhimanyu is a wonderful example. Very dear to the Lord. Wonderful devotee as well. We will not go into the background story of that. There's a background story. But is that the real danger? No. If the soul is protected in terms of retaining its shelter under Krishna's lotus feet, if the soul is not forgetful, if the soul is not distracted by Maya, then external situations are not the real problem. They are only apparent circumstantial issues which one has to deal with. Yes, they are inconvenient. Yes, they are troublesome. Yes, they'll disturb the body and the mind. But they'll not disturb the soul if one has taken shelter of the Lord. And that's the real concern of the serious sadhaka. So that's what this canto is going to deal with. It's a long canto with so many personalities. So there are not that many long narrations like some of these pastimes that we discussed, 4 chapters, 5 chapters, 6 chapters. There are a lot of personalities, lot of brief mentions. So I was just thinking, it is 9:35. I was thinking I will just preferably start the canto in the next class. Let's see if any one of you have any questions on what we have discussed today. And also maybe anything you have questions on the previous canto, or in general, anything related to Krishna consciousness. We can do some, we are already at 9:35, because I want to try to complete this chapter in one go, which I think there's 41 odd verses. I think I can, 42 verses, sorry. I think I can complete it in one class. There's quite a few of the key points we have already discussed. The chapter, first chapter is actually talking about King Sudyumna. He's one of the first descendants coming from Vaivasatmanu. So the story of Sudyumna, very interesting story. Very interesting story. And for me, I'm just telling not only about these stories and this, we hear about the lives of Indra, we hear about what he went through, we hear about what Bali Maharaj went through, we hear about Prahlad, we hear about Dhruva. And then I think to myself, I'm just saying about myself, my life isn't there isn't that much upheaval in my life, even though sometimes I like to think I have a lot of challenges. My situation, my circumstances, I have not been subjected to these kind of tests. I have not been subjected to these kind of dangers. I mean, perhaps because most of us are very insignificant, we will be totally doomed spiritually if we were subject to that scale of challenges. But nonetheless, so two things. One is that we know material world means this is what we should expect. So this is an important lesson. I want to re-emphasize this again. I keep telling this to myself. So I'm also sharing this with you. That we all need to recognize that the nature of the material world doesn't change. Material world will remain a place of upheaval, a place of misery at the level of body mind. If you're a materialistic person, if you're a sadhaka, even if you're a perfected soul or a great devotee. Because this world, by definition and design, is kuntha. That means anxiety. Only Vaikuntha, where there is no kuntha, no anxiety, is the place where all trouble ceases. The only way to cease trouble in Kuntha is to transcend our consciousness from the body mind. Body mind will still go through whatever it has to go through based on what is happening around us. It's not suddenly going to stop. Material nature is not going to stop. Oh, Gaur Chandra Das has become devotee, is chanting Hare Krishna. Suspend all my laws of nature. No, no, no. Body and mind is part of the material world. Our karma will play out. Of course, the Lord will do its adjustment as needed. Things will play out. So it helps us to understand and establish that as sadhakas, should not have undue expectations that now I have become devotee, now everything will become fine. Yes, everything will become fine if you fix your mind on Krishna. That will make it fine. The ocean will never stop producing waves. You can get onto a boat and not be affected by the waves. That's what you can do. You can't control the ocean. You can't stop the ocean from producing waves. Counteract waves of material nature. That's why we become tired, frustrated, waiting for the day when someday the ocean will be calm like a lake. Crystal clear, beautiful, steady lake. No. Adibhautik, Adidevic, Adhyatmic miseries will continue to come. So the sadhaka understands the nature of the material world and understands the solution, which is to take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord through the chanting of the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. By taking shelter of the association of devotees and the book Bhagavatam, by worshipping the Lord and aspiring always to render humble service to the Lord and the devotees. In this way, cultivating his true spiritual identity. Only in the realization of one's eternal spiritual identity is there eternal shelter. There is no lasting position within the material world. Doesn't matter what that position is. Not even for Lord Brahma, what to speak of us. So as sadhakas, we have to orient our mentality like that. If we keep waiting for the day when everything will become wonderful and smooth in the material world, we are bound to be frustrated life after life. In fact, as materialists, that is what we have been hoping against hope. And it still hasn't happened. Now, after studying the pages of Bhagavatam, now we are already on 9th Canto, we have to start reflecting. Am I actually hoping against hope that one day everything will be so wonderful in the material world? If one problem goes, another will come, be sure. The Ashraya, which is there in the 10th Canto, we are on the 9th Canto. 10th Canto is the Ashraya Tattva. What is the ultimate shelter principle? The ultimate shelter, Ashraya Tattva is Sri Krishna. Okay, so I'm opening up the floor. If you have any questions, comments, we can take them. Then the details of the chapter we can go through next class. Virendra Ram Prabhu, yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dhanvat Pranam.
Yes.
Very nice summary, Prabhu, and some good points as well. So I wanted to ask on that point when you mentioned that Maya, it does infiltration in this material world. So is that's the part of that anarth nivritti? So from Shraddha until anarth nivritti, we will be facing the illusions of Maya, and from Nishtha onwards, will it starts to minimize, or is there any point, any stage that where that we don't get bewildered from the Maya?
Good question. Thank you, Virendra Ram Prabhu. So, okay, so first let me say this. Maya is fully overcome. All the 6 enemies are fully overcome only at the level of prema, the final step. Okay, so that's point number 1. 100% is only at prema. But why anartha nivritti and nishtha are considered very important milestones? So when we talk about nishtha, what is the basic concept of nishtha? The concept of nishtha is currently our bhakti is anishtita. Anishtita means unsteady. As long as our bhakti is unsteady, we cannot make steady progress. Very simple, right? Correct? It's just like a person who doesn't regularly go to the gym cannot expect to produce the same results as somebody who goes regularly. Otherwise, loses weight, again gains muscle, loses muscle, be like this, like this, like this. Steadiness. What is it that is not allowing us even to steadily practice bhakti? So there are 2 levels of anarthas, and I'm explaining it in a very simple way. This is a very detailed discussion. This detailed discussion is actually given in Madhurya Kadambini by Vishwanath. You can read that if you wish. But the key point is that gross anarthas like lust and greed, basically meaning hankering for material things, wanting to acquire material things, enjoyment, especially in the form of wealth, big material, acquiring big wealth, lust for women, lust for wealth. These gross anarthas have to be overcome first, or they are overcome first in one's purification of heart. As gross lust and greed are overcome, not just externally controlled, they are minimized to a point that they don't disturb the sadhaka anymore. I'm not saying that they have become zero. Huh? Everything becomes zero only at the stage of prema. But they stop bothering and the mind is pretty steadily fixed in devotional practices. Which means one basically is no longer interested. One is very convinced and understands wealth, women, material pursuits are not going to give me anything lasting. I'm not chasing them. They are not attracting me anymore. Then one can become nishtita in one's bhajan. Doesn't mean one has become perfect, but one can be steady in one's bhajan because one is no longer distracted by external things. But there are subtler anarthas that still carry on and slowly need to be purified in the higher stages. And to put it very simply, because we don't have so much time to put it simply, the subtler anarthas are the anarthas around puja, labha, pratishtha. Basically, in terms of anarthas around pride and envy, to put it very simply, and desire for name, fame, recognition. Puja. Puja means we want people to worship us. Oh, I'm a great devotee, everyone should. What do you want to become, Prabhu? Externally, you say, Prabhu, I want to be servant, but internally, think you, one day I want to become Guru. With 10,000 disciples. Oh, I want to be Jagat Guru. So these kind of desires, they are not gross material desires, but it's not actually spiritual desire. I mean, to become a guru and deliver 10,000 souls is a good desire, but if the desire is because of I want to enjoy the position of being a famous, successful person, it's basically a desire to enjoy, control, enjoy fame. So these subtle desires haunt the jiva even beyond nishtha. And it takes serious work to get oneself purified of all these subtle materialistic tendencies, the tendencies which are related to the false ego. And eventually, these are given up fully at the stage of prema. Okay, Prabhu, do you get that high level idea?
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, just one thing also.
Yeah.
So that also means that after the stage of anartha nivritti, we tend to have this minute anarthas. So which means that the Shuddha Nam will still, I think on the bhav stage only we can do the Shuddha Nam. Otherwise, it's still with some sort of discrepancies, right?
That's a big topic actually. There are slightly different opinions on this. But it is like this. This is how I asked this question multiple times to Bhanu Maharaj, as soon as Bhanu Maharaj went sannyasi, very learned in scriptures. And his point was, and I've read this elsewhere also, that in our condition stage, we are unable to chant Shuddhanam always. To develop prema, one has to always chant Shuddhanam. For us, Shuddhanam, a person who is at the stage of Anartha Nivritti may be able to chant sometimes, not always. Prem doesn't come by occasional chanting of Shuddhanam. So one goes from Namapara to Namabhas. At least for most of us, we are expected to be at least majority Namabhas and struggling with Namaparad now and then. Occasional Shuddhanam may come. So gradually we have to eliminate Namaparad and graduate from Namabhas to Shuddhanam and come to the stage of cultivating Shuddhanam most of the times. And that progress is what takes us from Ruchi to Asakti to Bhava and Prema. Prema is where one is always chanting Shuddhanam. Okay, so it's not a step function. It's not that suddenly when you poof, there's a flip of a switch. This is like a spectrum, right? From various shades of gray going towards from black to white. So as we make more and more purification, we will gradually come to the point of at least uttering the Shuddhanam occasionally. Okay, Prabhu? Can we exactly map to say Anartha Nivritti, then only Shuddhanam? One cannot necessarily say like that. But yes, to put it very simply, after Anartha Nivritti and Nishtha, the percentage of Shuddhanam will rapidly increase. That we can say. Yeah. Amit Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have one question regarding the last canto. So in the last canto, we saw that, the Lord told King Satyavata.
Previous canto, last meaning 8th
canto. Sorry, the previous canto. When the Lord told King Satyavata that, there'll be the waters of devastation will be covering the three worlds, and then he'll provide him a boat, and then, along with the sages, and with the herbs to go in that boat. Now this, this change from the previous Manvantara, Chaptusha to Vaivasvata Manvantara, this happens during Brahma's day, right? So during Brahma's day, do the waters of devastation cover? So I thought it covers only.
Normally no. Normally no. So we discussed this in the last class. I did mention this, but anyway, I'll quickly repeat.
Sorry, I think I missed the last class. Okay.
So the mention is, and this is mentioned in the purports also. So the mention is that normally this kind of devastation of the three worlds getting covered with water happens only during Brahma's night. And Brahma's night happens only after the 14 Manvantaras are over. So this was an unusual episode of this kind of a water devastation happening in the middle of Brahma's day. It generally doesn't happen. And the reason that the Acharyas give is because the Lord wanted to show his mercy to Satyavrata Muni and also wanted to give him a glimpse of the devastation. So the Lord had some desire, and there may be so many background stories, but in brief, it is mentioned that the Lord wanted to perform this pastime and give his mercy and teach Maharaj Satyavrata. So this was an unusual episode, that in the middle of Brahma's day, because if you see Brahma's day, end of 6th Manvantara is barely around noon time, right? Maybe 11 a.m. of Brahma's morning. So it is said that the Lord decided and the Lord manifested this pastime, which was a bit atypical, a bit out of schedule. And when that pastime happened, it is said Lord Brahma said, oh, anyway, the Lord wants to do this now. So, he's going to flood the three worlds. So let me take a quick nap. So for the period that this devastation happened, I don't remember how long it was. I don't know whether it was mentioned. I think not. But for whatever period, Lord Brahma took a rest. So Brahma sleeping was like a daytime quick siesta that he took in this 6th Manvantara, towards the end of the 6th Manvantara. So that's what the Acharyas explain.
Okay. Thank you, Babu. Thank you, Babu. So this will happen in every day of Brahma?
There's no mention like that. So this seems to be not a scheduled thing. What it appears is this is not a scheduled thing. So Lord Matsya has appeared twice. So at the beginning of the pastime of Matsya appeared twice. One at the beginning, where the Lord, when Brahma, at the beginning of this day of Brahma, or towards the end of the night of the previous day of Brahma, there was this demon, Hayagriva, who tried to steal the Vedas from Brahma. The Lord took, because it was the water of devastation, the Lord came in the form of a fish in a Matsya and killed this demon and saved the Vedas. Right? The same Matsya, and that is the scheduled incarnation, I would think. Maybe a bit more regular. But of course, it's not mentioned that this particular incarnation appears in a particular frequency. It's not mentioned. So I do not know. But the same avatar appeared again. So just like Varaha has appeared twice, Shweta Varaha and Rakta Varaha, Matsya has appeared twice. At the beginning of the Swayambhuva Manvantara and at the end of the Chakshusha Manvantara. Like that. So some of these incarnations have appeared multiple times under multiple situations.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thanks a lot.
But whether this happens mid Manvantara on a regular basis, it seems not. But of course, was this the only time? Of course not. Maybe the Lord, basically the Lord being independent, sometimes he just feels, it's not my schedule. Correct? See, sometimes, like we feel, oh, it's not quite lunchtime, but, I just feel like, going out and eating a samosa, for example. Yeah. So, you just have a snack off schedule. So the Lord sometimes just feels, I want to show this special mercy to this great devotee. He has his own purposes why he wants to do what he does. And that becomes glorious for us because we get nice Ishanu Katha discussed because of that. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Tarun Prabhu.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Tanvi Pradam.
Hari Hari.
Prabhuji, I have a question on Gita in general, chapter 2. And I was going through the recording, Prabhuji, and the question comes on Dharma Yuddha, actually. उसमें आपने एक बात बोला कि if you are getting an opportunity to participate in Dharma Yuddha, and then you should take. Maybe, and so what defines a Dharma Yuddha for me? Just like I'm doing my daily activities. I have some office things, some personal things. So will that be considered as Dharma Yuddha, or what will consider as a Dharma Yuddha, Prabhuji? That's
So
where I
Krishna's
get
advice,
confused.
yeah. I'll answer that. So Krishna's advice to Arjuna is in the context of he's a Kshatriya. For a Kshatriya, to do a dharmic war is the greatest blessing. Okay, because why? Hato va prapsase swargam, jito va bhukshase mahim. If you are killed, you will go to heaven. If you win, you will enjoy
Get the
kingdom on
opulences. Yeah.
earth. Right? So, in either case, it is good for you. The principle is this. The principle of execution of dharma is, it doesn't matter whether the outcome is successful or not. The performance of the activity itself is perfect. That's the point. It is not result based. It is based on execution of duty. So, being aligned with one's dharma is always the cause of auspiciousness, independent of what is the outcome of the situation. Because the outcome is never in our control, isn't it? Outcome we cannot decide. So, in the context of Arjuna, based on his dharma as a warrior, Krishna makes that comment. Now, let us see how we can apply this to ourselves.
Yeah, that is
What
the
is
next
the
point.
principle? What is the principle? So, we are not warriors. At least as far as I know, none of us are soldiers or who are going to fight. But what actually is the fight? What actually is the fight that Krishna is telling Arjuna, or through Arjuna to anybody else? Is that never abandon dharma. Pure dharma. Whatever is our dharma. Correct? So for Arjuna, it was to fight in that battle. For us, is to follow our dharma. So there are two kinds of dharma for us. For any jiva. There is the Sanatan dharma and there is the Varnashram dharma. Correct? Sanatan dharma means what? The dharma of the soul. And Varnashram dharma means what? The dharma of the body. Correct? You are with me so far?
Yes,
There is the dharma of
I'm
the
with you.
soul
Yes.
and dharma of the
And
body.
dharma of the body.
Dharma
Yes.
of the soul is common for all of us, right? Isn't it
Ah,
common? What
True.
is the dharma? Jiver
To
Swarupoi
serve Lord.
Krishner Nityadas.
Yes.
So executing the principles of devotional service, everyday chanting, taking shelter of the Bhagavat, associating with devotees, rendering service on a regular, regulated way under the guidance of our Guru or our Shiksha Gurus, whoever is guiding us in spiritual life, is one aspect of dharma. So that we have to uphold. That is our battle. What is the battle? Oh, I
We should
promised
be able
16
to do these
rounds.
things.
I have to do. I promised 16 rounds. I have to do. That is my battle. My battle is, even when it becomes difficult to do 16 rounds, to do 16 rounds is my battle. You understand? My
Yeah.
fight for Sanatan is not that I have to go and beat up the guy next door or go on the battlefield and fight. In Sanatan Dharma, that is my battle. As far as following the principles of devotional service is concerned. Follow 4 regulative principles, chant my stipulated rounds, associate with devotees, render service, worship the Lord at home, offer naivedya. This discipline, this is my dharma. Based on our level, our sadhana, our commitment, our instructions from our spiritual masters, that is one war. The other war is with respect to our varnash, because Krishna's instruction to Arjuna was not from a Sanatan Dharma perspective, was with respect to the Varnashram perspective. It is your duty to fight. That duty to fight is based on his body, his Kshatriya body, not based on the soul. The duty to Arjuna based on the soul was, you fight, but you fight for me. You do it
Yes,
as an
correct.
offering to me. That is the Sanatan perspective. But fighting was the dharmic perspective. Understand? How Varnashram and Krishna consciousness are brought together. You do your Varnashram duty, but do it for Krishna's pleasure. Because Sansiddhir Haritoshanam, Sanushchitasya Dharmasya, Sansiddhir Haritoshanam. I mean, that's how we align it. So for us also, we have so many roles. What does Varnashram mean? I don't want to go into saying, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, then we'll all get confused. They'll say, Prabhu, I don't know who I am. So let's talk very practical. So we have multiple roles in our life. We are a son to our parents. We are a husband to someone or a wife to someone. We are father or mother to someone. We are an employee to some company. We are a citizen of the world. We are a national of a particular country. So in all these relationships that we have because of this body, there are certain duties and obligations that we are supposed to perform, dharmic duties. Now, I'm not going to list them because that's not the purpose of this talk. But you understand, right? So we have to dutifully perform our obligations with detachment. And ideally, from a Sanatana Dharma perspective, connected to Krishna, which means, oh Lord, I'm doing this duty, but the duty is not meant for, I'm not doing this duty to please my boss. I'm doing this duty nicely to please you. Because this duty is given by you. I'm offering it as a, doing it
Service to
because
you.
it is pleasing to you. Sanushtitasya dharmasya sansiddhir haritosha. I'll perform the duty for your pleasure, and even the fruits of the duties, I will try to see how much I can offer to you. Somehow in your service, and that I'll. Sorry, Haribol. So I think somebody didn't like my answer, so they cut my internet. You can hear me?
We can hear you well, Prabhuji. Thank you for rejoining.
Or somebody didn't want this answer to be recorded. Anyway, sorry. So, suddenly disturbed. So anyway, so coming back to the point, what I was trying to tell is that that's another battle. Prabhupada says the battle for the, what is the battle for the housewife? He has to cook in the house. Sometimes it is very inconvenient, it is very hot weather. Prabhupada gives the example. But whether it is, even if it is hot, even if it is very inconvenient, she still has to cook for the family as a duty. So that's her battle. What is your battle? We are all professional. In some cases, some of us are the only breadwinners in the family. Or maybe the responsibility is divided into, doesn't matter. But whether we like it or not, whether our boss is nice or not, we sometimes just have to tolerate and go ahead and do our duty, right? Not everything will be wonderful always. So that's our fight. Our fight is against our mind. Because we cannot all just say I like or I don't like. There are so many things in terms of dharma to think. So I'm just giving a couple of examples. So Prabhupada gives that example. So our fight is different. Our fight is about remaining aligned with dharma. So material and spiritual duties must be done despite inconveniences and despite opposition, despite challenges. That's the point. So that's your battle. That's my battle. That's all of our battle. Because that will keep us progressive in spiritual life. Dharmo rakshati rakshitah. He who protects his dharma is protected by dharma, which means only such a person will remain progressive. What the result is, like you were asking me, right, Prabhu, people in my office may be like this, may be like that. You do your best and don't deviate from dharma. Whatever the outcomes, whether they change or they don't change, that's not in your control. Okay, my somehow internet is unstable. So, okay, is that okay, Prabhu? I'll move to the next.
Yes, Prabhuji, it is pretty clear. Thank you very much for sharing. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hari Bol. Satvik is smiling.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Sini Mataji. Hari Bol, Puja Mataji. Yeah, Sini Mataji has a question.
Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hari Bol, Satvik. Yes, Sini Mataji, go ahead.
It's regarding the eighth canto. Eighth canto, we studied about the Manvantaras, right? But in the Srimad Bhagavatam book, it's written withdrawal of the cosmic creations. I have a forwarded message with the 10 subjects of Bhagavatam represented as a lotus. So in that total also it's given annihilation.
Yeah.
Eighth canto, annihilation. How is
Yeah,
it?
correct.
Withdrawal of the
Yeah, very good
cosmic
question.
creations, and how is this topic?
So there are 10 topics of the Bhagavad. Yeah. So the answer to this question is there are 10 topics of the Bhagavatam. And the 10 topics are just generally sequentially given as names to the first 10 cantos. Sarga, Visarga, Sthanam, Poshanam, so on and so forth. Where 8th canto is Nirodha, 9th is Mukti, 10th is Ashraya. Okay, so you understand? So those names are given as standard sequence. Even though that is there, so in that sense, 10th is Ashraya, 9th is Mukti, and 8th is Nirodha. Nirodha means a complete dissolution. But actually, in the topic of 8th canto, it doesn't focus on the topic of dissolution specifically. So different cantos have a mixture on different topics. So that's just a general naming convention which the acharyas have followed, but it doesn't mean that that canto only deals with that topic. So what is the topic of dissolution within 8th canto? Probably only the dissolution that happens in Matsya Avatar, right? I don't think in the 8th canto what else happens from a dissolution perspective. Universal dissolution, I don't think there's any other mention. But the actual main topic that is discussed is Manvantara.
Okay.
So all 10 topics are discussed to various extents across all cantos. But just for simplicity, different cantos are given different names. The first 10 are given the names according to the 10 topics. So your observation is correct. Even though the canto is labeled as Nirodha, dissolution, that's not the main topic of the discussion. That's what I have heard.
Okay.
Is that okay?
So when you look at the Lord's body, we said neck represents the 8th canto. Is there anything significant related?
9th. 9th is the neck.
8th?
I think I need to check. Just give me 1 minute. I'll tell you how the whole body, various cantos. The first 2 are the feet.
I think chest, Prabhuji.
Yeah. But I want to just refer very specifically. Yeah, the chest is correct. I'll try to find that and I will try to post it. Yeah, so this is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam itself, 12 cantos. First and second is navel. Nabhi is fifth canto. Sixth canto is his chest. Chest was sixth. Seventh and eighth are his arms. Ninth canto is his throat. 10th is his beautiful face. 11th canto is his forehead. And 12th canto is his head. Like that it is compared. So this verses, trying to find out, it's not mentioned here. These verses are from where? This is from the Padma Puran. Sorry, this is not from the Bhagavatam. This is mentioned in the Padma Puran. Yeah. So the whole idea is, okay, so why exactly arm? So why 7th, 8th is the arm? I don't have that answer, but I'll at least I don't have. I'm not saying that there is none, but what I can share is the idea is we want to come to the topic of taking shelter of Krishna, Ashraya Tattva. That's our objective of studying Bhagavatam. So, but that's the final topic, Ashraya. The first 9 topics are necessary to understand so that we can come to Ashraya and properly take shelter. Okay? So we want to see the beautiful form of Krishna, his beautiful face, Shyam Sundar. But we have to start with the feet. Our darshan goes from down, goes up to the face of the Lord. Okay? So we start with first. So we have to understand how. We don't want to jump into Vraj Leela. First, we want to understand who is this bluish colored boy who is stealing butter. That he is the supreme person. He is the one whose expansion of the expansion produces universes from the pores of his body. He is the one who is not different from Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagwan. He is the original Bhagwan. Ishvara Paramak Krishna Satchidananda. So the cultivation of the understanding of who is this boy whom we want to serve for eternity. So to appreciate the Ashraya Tattva, one has to understand the full philosophy of spiritual truth, Advaya Jnana Tattva. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavati shabdati. So we start with the feet. We first understand the Lord in terms of his creation. How great is his creation? What is this creation? How he manages this creation? What are the living entities? How the Lord incarnates? How his great devotees act? What kind of pastimes they perform? How the Lord is the substratum of everything in the form of the Brahman. At the same time, is present in the heart of all living entities as Paramatma. So then we start appreciating the glory of the Lord. So then when we come to Krishna, so Prabhupada says, first one must know how great God is. Okay, does that help you to understand? So we start with the feet and come towards the face. That's the idea. So different cantos are compared like that. Okay, so with that we will conclude today's class. So let's we'll discuss the chapter in the next first chapter in the next Saturday class. And yeah, let's Krishna willing, we will meet on Tuesday. Continue discussion. We will discuss our sadhana bhakti the last time. So we will get into Raganuga bhakti discussion in the coming class. It will be very interesting. Okay, thank you very much. Kantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
everyone.
Hare Krishna. Done.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, Sneha Mataji,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Prabhu, Amit, Sarvalakshmi
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, Pujaji, Anand
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Sundar